Was he?
Here we are.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. We got our Christmas decorations up.
Excuse me.
Glad to see you. Thank you for coming on. We have so many that came on early. Wow, look at everybody. My goodness. Happy thoughts. Hello, J. Mars, Slavika, and Just Jen. Hi, Jen. Jane Spitfire, Dallas. Mama Sue, how is our sound? Can you hear us okay? I just lowered it, so. Is the sound any better? Right there, how's that? Let's see, going through the chat here. Don't want to leave anybody out. Hi, Sten. And Esther. Hi, Esther. Love and greetings to all my discarded brothers and sisters. That's a good one. Never heard that. Faded in San Diego. Hello. Boy, it's only 4:00 in the afternoon there. Thanks for coming on. And 68 Eek Mouse. Greetings from Germany. Hello, hello. Thank you for coming on. Sky Graham and Willie B933. Let's see, we've got so many already. Thank you. If we left you out, please let us know. And let's see. So it's nice that we've got the UK represented, we've got Germany represented, and we've got Canada, my good wife and Vern, and all the others that are listening in. Okay, I think we got everyone. If we missed you, Slavika's from British Columbia also. Okay, we've got, and Vern and Shauna, Vancouver. Beverly Harward, yes, North Carolina. Butterfly, Queen, hello everyone. Where are you from, Butterfly? And Willie, are you from Vancouver? And Esther's from Vancouver. Wow, we've got a lot represented from Vancouver, British Columbia. And Vern is healing nicely. Shauna said. Okay, just everybody's, butterflies from Rhode Island. Nice. We had a meetup in Rhode Island with Dan. Let's see, and DSJR Frederick, Maryland. Thank you for joining us. It is cold there in Maryland, yes, and right here in New York. We're from the center part of New York. Joe just went outside, and the temperature is 36 in Herkimer, 37 degrees.
Yeah.
But it feels like 22.
Yeah, well, it's windy, breezy.
Yeah.
But it had been freezing below and below just previously. It's going to get up to the 50s.
Uh-huh.
Crazy weather.
Yep, it is. Ben is here.
Hello, Ben.
From also from Vancouver Island. Boy, we got Vancouver represented all
That's
over
where
the
Buck
place.
and Billy's from, isn't it?
Yes.
Vancouver
Yeah,
Island.
Buck and Billy. We watch him. He's a tree guy. All right. All right. Well, as everyone comes in, we'll welcome them. But in the meantime, shall we do birthdays?
If you can, I'll listen.
I can. Okay. I know. Just a little under the weather, but doing much better.
My voice is even lower.
But he's doing much better. Okay. If I can read that. December 1st, Angela Glass. There you go. Now I can read it. Thank you, Shauna. December 2nd, Becky Ross, Mindy Grossman. December 3rd, Rich Bender. December 4th, Joseph Nobles and Emmanuel Hitu. The 6th, Lori Bell, Anna Willis. The 7th, Dave Carlio. The 8th, Mrs. Apostadude and Danae Forbes. The 9th, MJ and Christian. The 10th, Chelsea, Gail Antonucci, Micah Lost, Colin, his channel is the CO Visit. December 11th, Priscilla Garrison. December 12th, Kelly Carter and Monica Kincaid. The 13th, Will Chandler and Jessica. The 14th, Donna Lampson. That's Mr. CIA's daughter. And December 15th, Michael turned 19 years old on the 15th. December 16th, Erica Wagner. December 17th, Kumi, 51 years old. That's Tad's wife. Happy birthday. ICU also. The 19th, Dave Roberts. The 21st, Sarah Schoolcraft. The 22nd, Kat Cattlenuck. 23rd, Omar Barrentos. 24th, Chloe Morgan. 25th, Charlotte Perkins. 28th, Hannah Regina. The 29th, Nancy Scott and Ian Kinlock. And the 31st, Gary Alt. He was born in 1958. So happy birthday, everyone. And we got the birthday song. Okay, yeah, thank you for the thought about the flu bomb.
The flu bomb?
Yeah, Barbara O'Neill. It's one of her concoctions.
Sure.
We do make her cough syrup.
Yeah.
So, and he just had some cayenne, so that'll help. Anyway, anniversaries for the month of December. Martin and Marcia Riley from the UK, December 3rd. December 5th, Lance and Linda, 45 years. December 13th, Dave and Deborah, 50 years. And if there's anyone that we missed, please let us know. But happy anniversary to all those in December. We've got a December. Thank you. And we've got some upcoming events. December 20th at 12 o'clock p.m., the ExJW meetup in Phoenix, Arizona. If you go to our ExJWFriends website, all the details are there. It's going to be at the Camelback and Central Shake Shack. Say that 3 times. On the 10 o'clock starting. Also on the 20th, the Feliz Navidad in New York City meetup starts at 5 p.m. and it goes to 8 p.m. And if you go on the website, that is going to be at the Marcela's Cocina Mexicana. They're going to have some cozy Loita hot chocolate. I probably didn't say that right. And then you're going to go for a stroll through Diker Heights, famous for its dazzling Christmas lights. And then dinner. 5 o'clock to 6:30 is dinner at Marcela's Cocina Mexicana. And then they're going to go check out the lights at the Diker Heights holiday. So if you're anywhere near Brooklyn, New York City, check that out. That'll be on the 20th. Also December 20th, we got 3 different meetups. Exit Generation Phoenix meetup, another one in Phoenix. And this one is going to be at the Yard in Tempe, starting at 4 p.m., 149 South Farmer Ave, Tempe, Arizona. And please RSVP so if they have more than 10 people, they can adjust the reservation. Okay, and also the 24th, December 24th, there's going to be a celebration in Indiana. And that is going to be actually the 24th and 25th. If you would like to stay over, it's at a very nice bed and breakfast, and the details are on the website. They're going to be doing a gift exchange. It's optional, and they'll be serving dinner and breakfast the next day. They're going to be having games, all kinds of things, and that is Jen, and there's her information on the website. We hope people are using the website ExJWFriends. We have Deanna is added to our, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, let me just finish off the meetups. Okay, on the 28th, how could I forget this one? This is the one that we are putting on, ExJW Christmas Celebration in New York, December 28th, and it's going to be from 1 to 4, the same place we had the last one in Frankfort, New York, and you can contact us 315-221-0130 if you're going to be in the center of New York State, Frankfort, New York, and that'll be put on by Joe and I. So all the information is on our website. And just a little bit more about the website. We are really expanding our life coaches and our therapists. We have some different friends on there, friends, therapists, and life coaches. Please check that out. These are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. They were all a witness at one time, and they have different what's the word?
Styles.
Different styles.
Different experiences.
Yeah, different experiences. And our latest one on there is Deanna Moore, and she, we were with her last week, and she's going to be on again this week. But please check those out. If you go on their picture, it'll give all their details. And then we have one more new life coach coming up, but probably after Christmas. David is the one who does our website, and he does a really good job. He's really put a lot into this, and we really appreciate. He does it on,
it's amazing.
You know, he volunteers his time, and we appreciate that. Just a couple more shout outs. If there's anyone in the Sacramento area, Sacramento, California, of course, we had a new caller call us, and she would be interested if there's any meetups or anyone local that would like to meet up for coffee. Just get in touch with us. Either our phone number, 315-221-0130, or our email is jandfguerino@gmail.com. And it's running along the bottom there. So you can get in touch with us, anyone from Sacramento. And If there's anyone else that wants to meet up, just let us know where you are and we'll try to arrange for you to meet someone. So,
Good.
okay. So tonight's topic is let's talk about prayer. And we're going to be very open. We're not going to be judgmental, right?
Well, we're not.
We're not. And we hope that our audience, is respectful of each other's comments, whether it's in the chat or people come on stage. And we just want to talk about prayer, what your view is of prayer.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong way. But first, to get us started, we have a 10-minute video. This is Mind Shift with Brandon. Yep. And this was from his very first video 2 years ago, but it's on prayer.
I want to start today's video with a thought experiment. What would you do if you were God concerning prayer? Pretend you are an all-powerful, all-knowing, perfect, and just God. You have 8 billion people on the earth, a large fraction of which are believers in you, and they are crying out to you by the billions of prayers per day. How would you decide which prayers to answer and when? How long would you wait before responding? How many prayers would you make someone pray before it got your attention? How serious would something need to be for you to warrant action? Would the life of that individual matter? What they believed? Which Bible they read? When they had last sinned? When they had last asked for forgiveness? Would their motives matter? What would the conditions be for you around answering prayer? I would have to assume that given the requisite powers talked about, you would be able to do a better job than what is clearly on display in the universe today. What I see prayer result in is no better than chance, a roll of the dice, a flip of the coin, as effective as hope or the power of positive thinking, with all the accuracy of a horoscope. At best, prayer is a placebo. At worst, it is a psychological and mental trauma that is very real. It is an undue source of confusion, of neglect, of doubt, and of one-way communication. It seems to me that prayer does not work, that in fact it is quite problematic, and at the end of the day, prayer seems to be completely futile. Welcome to Mind Shift. I'm Brandon, and today's video is all about the many problems of prayer. On a quick side note, I wanted to mention that I'd been making these kinds of videos on my other YouTube channel, which is Brandon's Bookshelf, a bookish channel about book reviews, classics, philosophy, poetry, etc. I'm really excited about this content, really excited about this new channel. Please subscribe if you have not, turn on notifications, interact with me in the comments, and let's start building this back up to where I had it. Without further ado, let's get back to the problems with prayer. Now, what right does an atheist have to talk about prayer? Isn't prayer one of the good parts of religion? Isn't it just asking God to help us in our need or help others around us or to commune with the Creator himself? Isn't this just a personal thing between an individual and their God? What right do I have to care or make a video about it? Well, I would argue that I have every right. I think prayer leads to inaction in a world that requires action. I think prayer gives false hope and suffering in a world where that is already abundant. I think prayer leads to psychological harm and absolute delusion. And for me personally, I believe that prayer is an unfair judgment passed on by Christians. All I heard during my deconversion by the believers around me is that I needed to just get down on my hands and knees and really pray, earnestly seek God, and he would finally reveal himself, as if I had not been doing that for years. When I said as much, I was told what many of you, believers or non-believers, have heard when your prayers have been unanswered, and it is that you did not have enough faith, that you were not in right standing with God, that you had unrepented sin in your heart or in your life, that you were not sincere enough, that you did not believe enough, that you did not expect, that you did not claim it in the name of Jesus, or any of the other horrendous excuses that the Christian gives when faced with the inadequacy of prayer. There's an adage that God always answers prayer. Sometimes the answer is just no or wait. What a cop-out. So back to the thought experiment. What is the criteria? Why does God sometimes answer prayer? An example would be a mom running a few minutes late who can't find her car keys, and she throws up a quick Hail Mary prayer to God, asking for help finding the keys. Sure enough, she finds the keys, she thanks God for his help, and she's now on time to soccer practice. So God answered that prayer, or the prayer for your high school team to win their championship. But the 6 children who just starved to death during my last couple sentences, those parents who were praying, begging God for an outcome, they didn't get it. Why? I believe that there's no God to answer those prayers, and that Earth and all of its natural consequences and organic results is playing out on its time frame with no intervention whatsoever. So where should we start? Let's start with defining prayer as listed in the Bible. The Bible is very clear about the power of prayer, what it can do, how magnificent it is. What the Bible is not so clear about is how we should pray, when should we pray, in what matter, and when to expect what. Let's look at a few verses. Philippians 4:6-7 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God." By prayer and petition. Now, petition could mean a lot of things, but it seems, as far as the context of the verse, that it just means repetition, praying without ceasing. We're also told in this verse to pray with thanksgiving, with gratefulness. Great. What else does the Bible say? Matthew 7:7-8 says, "Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find it. Knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds." Now, this verse is a little bit more poetic, so maybe we shouldn't take it too seriously. Let's try another one. Mark 11:24. "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours." Now, that is very clear. All we have to do is simply believe in the power of our prayer, and all we have to do is ask, and it will be given. It doesn't give any other specifications about what we should be asking for or a time frame. It simply says if we believe it enough, it will indeed happen. So did those parents of those dying children simply not believe enough? Or is this verse just not accurate? Let's try one more. Matthew 18:19. "Again, truly I tell you that if two of you on earth agree about anything they ask for, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven." This one should inspire even more faith. First of all, it's Jesus speaking himself. Second of all, he's saying it again, meaning he has said it more than once. This must be something he really means. Thirdly, he starts the sentence with the word truly to really showcase and make sure you know this is not a parable, this is a fact. And then goes on to say that if we have the right number of people, 2 or 3, and they are in agreement of what they want, it will be done by the Father. It doesn't say that what they want can't be personal or selfish. It doesn't say that you can't have sin in your life. It doesn't say that you can't be unrepented. It simply says what it says. So for Christians who love to play the context game and that wasn't Jesus speaking and this was misinterpreted, this is pretty clear. Do you believe this? Because if you believe this, no more children should die. If you believe this, no more school shootings should happen. If you believe this, no more poverty, no more natural disaster deaths. So either you don't believe it or you're making excuses for it. And those excuses also come from other Bible verses because the Bible is a little bit unclear. We have verses telling us that only a man in righteous standing with God will have his prayers heard, or to pray without ceasing. And maybe that's what you did wrong. You didn't pray long enough. Or in James, where it says not to pray for personal pleasures. So what if it's your kid you're praying for? Maybe that negates the prayer somehow. If only the Bible was consistent about what it meant about prayer, and if only the believer had the expectation that God would do what he says he's going to do and hold God accountable for that. And I can just hear it now, all the believers saying, "Oh, there it is. Don't test God. God knows your intentions. You're just testing him." In fact, that's the main response to the study that was done on prayer. That's right. There was a study done by the Templeton Foundation, a few studies actually, on the effectiveness of prayer. And the results are not good, which is why the Christians are saying, it's because God knew he was being tested. I would like to point out that God loves being tested. We have examples of God being tested all over the Bible, and God shows up. God performs miracles. God gives answers. In fact, one of those examples that is highly specific that is used in sermons by pastors about the power of prayer is when God was tested about the altar and the fire. That story is in 1 Kings 18:21 with Elijah, if you want to read more about that. But God was tested and God came through. That study was done really, really well. It was done with intercessory prayer, just in case those verses in James were serious. So intercessory prayer is when you pray for someone else. So they used patients in the hospital trying to recover from various ailments, etc., and they compared the patients that were prayed for versus the patients that were not, about if healing happened at what rate. And what they found is that it was exactly the same as chance. Some people got better, some people did not. Some people got better faster, some people got better slower. There was no visible effect on the group that had prayed. Now, that's probably very unconvincing to a believer because who cares about science and who cares about studies when you're dealing with faith and the power of the Almighty? But what I'd love to know is when you have two groups of people with at least 2 or more people, and they all agree on what they're asking for, and they're asking for their team to win the game, and then one team wins the game. That means God answered the prayers of one group but not the other, but God promises to answer both. Well, you're not supposed to pray about silly things like that, except the Bible doesn't say that. It doesn't say that at all. There are no conditions in that verse that I'm talking about. You've just added in Brandon claims from contradicting verses to help excuse the fact that God is not doing what he said. He is not upholding his end of the bargain. Another big issue I have with prayer and with Christians is, again, that they don't expect the outcome they request. And as Christians love to say, the answer can be yes, no, or wait. But if you attribute any outcome post prayer to God's glory, then you have set up the system. It is rigged. It is perfect by default. Let me give you an example. This is a true example. So we have some friends, and they're lovely people, and they're believers, and I feel very strongly for them. The husband and wife just went through something pretty tough with the husband, and their marriage was a little bit rocky. They find out that they're pregnant, and the text goes out to all the friends, and all the wives are talking, and every other sentence is, thank God, and what an answer to prayer. Look how God is working in your guys' life to help patch things up, as if a baby is ever going to help a marital issue. But that's what you do as a Christian. You look for things that you can attribute to God's goodness and claim it for yourself so that your own personal circumstances start to seem better. Okay, so God has answered prayer on how to help their marriage by giving them a baby, a reason to unite and come together. Now, fast forward, and this is very tragic and this is very sad. The wife starts to bleed quite heavily. She's had a miscarriage before. All the signs are there, and she's quite sure that she is miscarrying. They go to the hospital, and now all the text starts circulating again. And now the attitude has changed. We're still so grateful. We're still so thankful to God. Maybe this is the actual thing that's going to bring you and your husband through together. Not facing the joy of a new baby, a new creation, but dealing with a hardship that God has placed in front of you for the two of you to overcome. Glory be to God. And everyone's fine with that answer. What about the first one, though, when everyone was thanking God for the answer to their marital issues via the baby? It's just gone. We can just make anything the answer to prayer. Now, thankfully, the baby was actually okay. And then we got a third round of prayers. Look at God, hearing our prayers that this would not be a miscarriage. God saved that baby, a baby that was never in jeopardy, a blood clot issue that had nothing to do with her pregnancies, and yet he still gets credit for that. And now he's getting back to the original credit for giving them a baby to help with their marriage. This is disgusting. And if you think that this is some freak thing that only happens in my friend groups because Brandon comes from the fundamentalist side of things, you're absolutely wrong. These are the most normal, everyday people you would think. This is just simply what is in the religion. God can't fail under these conditions. Prayer always works under these conditions, and it's not honest. I say, put God to the test. I say, be like Jesus, who looks at the fig tree and sees there is no fruit and curses it to death. Religion has promised you that God answers your prayers. It has not delivered on that promise. It is not bearing the fruit of the truth that it claims. Curse it, be done with it, condemn it to death. This is the example God sets for us. But Brandon,
Okay, we're back. So, thoughts? You brought out some good points, I thought, And also the link is up at the top of the chat. If anyone wants to come on and share, just go to the top where it says Joe and Fran and the HTTPS StreamYard. Just press on that. Make sure that your YouTube is turned down so we don't get feedback.
I just thought when you said share, I thought prayer.
Share prayer.
Yeah. No,
Because it rhymes.
It just rhymes. That's all. Simple mind.
Yep. Can you hear us? Are we coming through okay? Just checking. Deanna is backstage. Yep. Shauna, if you want to bring Deanna on and whoever else, there you go.
Hello.
Hi, Deanna.
Hello.
That was an awesome video. This is going to be a great topic to discuss.
So, your thoughts?
Okay, I'm going to dig right in. First of all, I appreciate that you said in the beginning about being respectful of everybody's beliefs, because this is potentially a sensitive topic. We might have people all over the spectrum here, people that are still devout believers in prayer. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, maybe some of those who even feel a little triggered by the word prayer. So I have a lot of thoughts on this. Topic. I loved the points that he brought out, and I would like to go over them one by one. So how should we start?
Well, we've also have some others that want to share too. So we kind of just, take turns.
Okay.
And we've got Slavika backstage. She's on stage. And we've got Annie that's on backstage. So Sure. How do you want to do this, Joe?
Oh, whoever wants to share.
Yeah, well, Deanna was here
Yeah,
first.
Deanna?
Yeah,
Why don't you, share
Okay,
something and then share with
pass the
someone else.
torch.
Let someone else share.
Pass the torch.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Probably it was the early 2000s, probably somewhere around 2004, 2005. I was neck deep in the religion still, and I was studying psychology. I was studying the neuro-linguistic programming. I happened to read the book The Secret, which was kind of taboo for being in the religion back then. But it really resonated with me because they're psychological principles. It's scientific principles. And to me at the time, I thought it coincided with prayers being answered very, very beautifully. In fact, I even thought, oh, this is the scientific explanation for how Jehovah makes prayers happen. There's a formula here. And if you follow the formula, you can call it manifesting, you can call it prayer, you can call it meditation, you can call it whatever you want. And there are very, very specific steps that you can follow. And voila, your prayer is answered. I remember being in the religion and wondering why it was that God answered worldly people's prayers, right? And when I started learning about manifesting and quantum physics, it seemed like it just meshed it together and it just made perfect sense. So when it comes to manifesting and when it comes to having your prayers answered, there are four very specific steps that have to be followed. The first step being very specific with what it is that you're asking for. So maybe you can think about times where you're $100 short for going to the convention or something like that. That being very, very specific with what you're asking for is the first step of manifesting quantum physics. The second step is believing that what you're asking for is possible. Believing that it's possible, believing that it's doable, believing that it's achievable, having faith and confidence that whatever it is that you've just asked for is achievable, it's doable. The third step is leave it in God's hands. You leave it up to the universe. You let God do its thing. And I think the fourth step that people usually forget about is the working in harmony with your prayer. So there's a couple of little tidbits in there that if you follow that sequence, that prayer manifestation is always going to be answered, because that's how science works. That's how the universe, this energetic universe that we have, that's how it's set up to work. So here's a couple of reasons why it doesn't work. First of all, maybe we're not very specific with what it is that we're asking for. You know, a lot of people are just like, help me, make me feel better. The non-specificity of that, how is the universe, God, law of attraction, manifesting? You can't manifest something unless you're very specific with what it is that you're asking for. So that's the mistake. That's the number one mistake that people would typically make, is they're not specific enough with what they're asking for. Or maybe they are very specific. I want $10 million. But step number two is you have to have the feeling that it's doable, that it's achievable. And that's where a lot of times religion even kind of teaches us to doubt this process, because we'll start wondering, maybe it's not in harmony with God's will, or, you know, maybe it's not doable for me, or maybe we have a lot of self-doubt, which can actually sabotage this process of speaking to the universe, of talking to the universe. I think a lot of people are really good at leaving it up to God, leaving it into the universe's hands. And I think a lot of people forget about step 4, which is we have to work in harmony with whatever it is that we're asking. As you know, I believe that we have the ability to create anything we want. And that requires action steps. So I think some people use this concept of prayer like like God and the universe is some magical ATM machine that's just gonna like cha-ching out whatever it is that you say. But as long as you follow those very specific steps, it always works 100%.
Thank you. Thank you. Those are helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, everybody has it's a philosophy of prayer. So you have to have something to work your prayers by. And it's personal. It's very personal. I'm sure others have some feelings on that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deanna.
Yeah. Who's next? Who was next? Slavika, I think, was on next.
Hi,
Hi, Slavika.
Hello, Slavika.
can you hear me?
Yes, well.
Okay. Well, I was still a smoker when I started going to the meetings. And I had tried quitting many times and was never able to. So I was really addicted. And and I was not much of a prayer. But in this situation, I thought, that if I didn't smoke, for example, before the meeting or for a few hours before that I would be fine and no one would notice it and so on. But I asked, a sister, the sister that was, usually sitting next to me, is it noticeable? Like, on me that I'm a smoker. And she said, oh yeah. And she said, I said, oh, I thought that no one would notice. I don't smoke for hours before the meeting. She says, oh, you reek of it. It's in your clothes. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, because all the brothers and sisters, no one said a thing about it. And it must have bothered them quite a bit. But anyway, during one of my studies, one of the sisters, asked me, how was I doing with my smoking? And I said, oh, I've cut down quite a bit and so on. And she said, I'm going to be quite blunt with you. And she says, I don't know any of these things ever working that way of cutting down. She said, it's like, for example, when you go to slaughter a chicken, you take it and boom, you cut the head off very quickly. And that's the best way. That's really being kind to the chicken. If you go a little bit at a time, you're only, making it last longer and you're harming the chicken and so on. So she said, I hope that you got my meaning in that example. And I said, oh yeah, so she was telling me the best way is to just, what she said is, pick a date and, and from that time on, that's it. And she said, by the way, do you pray? And I said, not really, not much, And she said, well, it might help if you prayed about it. So I decided, okay, that I would listen to her advice. And yet I didn't believe that it would work. But anyway, I thought, I'll give it a shot. So I picked a date, March 1st. And so that was going to be the last day. And, I got rid of all my ashtrays and cigarettes and everything else. And so that was going to be the day. And this time I prayed, and I really prayed. And I said, please help me, because these brothers and sisters, really deserve to have, some cleanliness in the congregation and not someone like me reeking of smoke, and, making them go through hell. So please help me. And if you do, I promise that I will never smoke again. And so that was fine. So I started the first day and so on. And then as soon as I got a craving, I would go for a walk and I would pray and before you know, the craving passed and passed me. And the second day and the third day and so on. And before you know it, it was working. A week passed, 2 weeks passed, 3 weeks passed, and I thought, oh my God, what is going on here? You know, because this never worked before, and it never did. I was never strong enough to do it on my own. So I started to believe, oh my God, it must be, that he is really helping me. Because on my own before, I would have never been able to do it. And so the more that I was able, to stay not smoking, the more I started to believe. And before you know it, months passed by. And then I came out of what we call here Save on Foods, a superstore. And I came out, and all these people outside were smoking, and the smoke hit me. And I was disgusted of the smell.
Wow.
And then I remembered that I used to be a smoker not long ago. I had actually forgotten. I had forgotten that I used to be a smoker.
Wow.
Okay, so this was something that floored me. And so ever since then, I still don't pray that often, but when I need to, I know that I can rely on him, and I think that some of my prayers have come true, ever since then as well. But basically, yeah. So that's my story, and I've never smoked ever since. So this was
Yeah, thank you, Slavika. I think you hit on all 4 steps that Deanna was talking about, especially the last one, work in harmony. You were willing to, you set a date, and Joe and I kind of laughed because March 1st is Joe's birthday.
oh,
Yeah, it was a good
That was a
day.
good day. You honored me, Slavika. Thank you.
But anyway, yeah, see, you worked in harmony with your prayers. Well, thank you. That's a great story. And I'm glad you stopped and, you're healthier for it. Annie, I think you were next.
Hello, how's everyone?
Good, good, Annie.
What a topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's could be very controversial. Of course, I was a witness, and I can certainly say I've prayed. I would say for the most part, it didn't move me a lot. Maybe I was missing one of the steps you spoke about. I don't know. But I think what really affected me about prayer is when I learned about the child sexual abuse. And I thought, what does Jehovah see? What does he do? How does he feel? He looks down and he sees it all. And I know for a fact that some of these children are old enough to have been taught about prayer.
Yeah.
And they were praying.
Yep.
And they were praying for it to stop. And then they go to the elders and no help comes from there.
Right.
What does God do? Does he just look away? Does he hide his eyes and not see? Or does he kind of say, I'm sorry, honey, I can't help you now, but I'll fix you later? But these are the future, from a witness standpoint, these are the future elders in the congregation, the future wives of elders, and they're already very broken people. So their answer would be, well, God doesn't interfere. And yet, God will interfere to get a building put up, to get a permit of some kind, to get money when it's needed. But what does God do when he sees these children? My son was abused, and he has said, Mom, if God's not going to interfere in man's affairs, that's one thing. But there's one sector of humanity that he should care enough about to protect, because he can stop it. He can take the desire away before it happens to the child. He can interfere. He can certainly change that blank 2 witness rule in his organization, supposedly, to protect the children. So from that standpoint, I have a problem with prayer because I think children, they don't know those 4 steps that were spoken about.
Yeah.
But if they believe in Jehovah, for example, God, take the name away, just use God, and they're praying. I had a study years ago, and I don't, she was really messed up. And she told me that her mother had been involved in witchcraft. And they would have these seances and things in a cemetery. And she was abused. She was she was raped more than once. And she said that she had studied with she'd studied with Jehovah's Witnesses off and on for a long time. And she said, but I prayed to Jehovah for it to stop. Why didn't he make it stop? And I had no answer for her.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had no answer.
Yeah.
I'll tackle that one.
Okay.
So part of the challenge is the concept of God itself. When you see God as somebody up there with a notebook deciding which ones he's going to answer and which ones he's going to not answer, that really confuses us, and it really sucks because he seems like a real jerk, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't choose to see it as a sentient being up there deciding which prayers he's going to listen to or not. It's more like an infrastructure grid, energetic grid, a system that has been set up that's a little bit more on autopilot. What that means is that when we don't follow the steps accurately, it's not necessarily it's not because God chose not to answer us. It's because we don't understand electricity well enough to use it right, or we don't understand the internet well enough to use it right. We're not using this system set up in a way that it works. Accidentally, a lot of times we end up manifesting the wrong things. We end up creating and attracting the exact opposite of what we want, because it is an infrastructure, it is a system that's set up. So it doesn't respond to good, bad, positive, negative. When you follow the steps, it happens, even if it's something quote unquote negative. A lot of times when people are praying, they're praying about what they don't want. Make this stop, but that isn't specific enough. And it's not even our fault, because you're right. That 4-year-old, that 5-year-old, that young child doesn't get an owner's manual that says these are the steps that you need to follow to make this happen. We're winging it here, We've got some of these ancient writings that describe some of the texts or some of the steps in the Bible. But you know what? There's thousands and thousands of other ancient works out there that give us other little tidbits of how it's supposed to work. And I feel you when you're talking about people who have been hurt and they are begging God to do something and he doesn't. It sucks, but that's because we have a misunderstanding of what this actually is. It's not us asking a sentient being for help. It's us accessing an infrastructure that's been left in place. Does that make a little bit of sense?
No, with all due respect, no. The
That was
infrastructure is
deep.
not. The infrastructure is not there for children, is what you're saying, because children cannot begin to understand an infrastructure or how this whole thing functions.
99% of adults don't either. It's not just the children. And part of the reason, I think, too, is because we've been misinformed by religion itself. It's something that's kind of been warped and weaponized.
Is this infrastructure kind, loving, benevolent, caring of its creation? Is that the infrastructure?
Neither.
No, I think the infrastructure is more like gravity. It's like Google. You type in something and the results come back.
So the presentation of God, the loving, benevolent, righteous
Maybe.
person who cares about his creation is all wrong? Is simply an infrastructure of some sort?
Well, religion doesn't show a lot of a very loving
Religion doesn't, but they still present God that way.
Can we keep this on the back burner, stewing,
Yeah.
and is Steph in there? And I appreciate it. Good thoughts.
Yeah.
Steph in there? Are you
Yes,
there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Stephen, yes, thank you for joining us.
Can you
Oh, sure, no problem. Hi, guys. This
Hi.
is an interesting topic, and I'm going to say right now, Joe, if I start going in a direction that's not your title, because I kind of missed the title, and I came in halfway into that video. But so if I'm going in a different direction, you just stop me. But
Okay.
this topic of prayer was something that's really interesting to me because I woke up from the Jehovah Witness cult 2017, 2018. I think you know that. And one of the things that I was thinking about is, is there a God? Does this God listen, not just listen to prayers, but grant, prayers? And this is one of the many things. I guess I just kind of started rethinking everything once I realized everything we learned from Watchtower was a lie. And one of the things I thought that was kind of interesting is when I was probably about a teenager, maybe even in my 20s, this pretty young lady that's on the StreamYard right now, the one that's showing her face, she kind of touched on something that Watchtower used to harp on. And they were talking about prayer. And you pray, and anything that you pray for within reason, in accord with God's will, God is going to grant. And they'd read all these scriptures about it. And so everybody that I know, they were just praying, and I don't care what it was, they're praying and praying and praying. And then it was they came out later and they started writing articles. Well, like the sister said, you got to be specific about your prayer. So then they'd go back and they'd be really specific. Let me not just pray for a job, but let me pray for a job that's going to allow me to do this and go to the meetings and blah blah blah. And then Watchtower came out later and said, if you've prayed and you've acted in harmony with your prayer and you've made all your meetings and you've been to you've read your Bible, you did all the stuff God asked you to do, and then you still didn't get an answer to your prayer. Now this is what they literally said. I'm not making this up, Joe. They said that is your answer. Your answer is no answer. That means that God is saying no to your prayer. So this is the kind of nonsense that we were being taught. This is what I was being taught like in my 20s. Anyway, fast forward. And my mother, who was a longtime witness, longtime pioneer, she started suffering with GI bleeds. She almost died the first time, almost died the second time, almost died the third time because, of course, she wouldn't take a transfusion. Wow. Everybody's praying for her, including myself. It's a very traumatic time. And she survived the first instance, survived the second, third, the fourth one took her out. She literally bled to death right in front of me because she wouldn't take a blood transfusion. Now, the point that raised was, well, if we prayed the first time and she survived, then we prayed the second time and she survived. Obviously, it's not logical to think you're just going to keep praying and she's just going to, keep surviving. Mm-hmm. But that really does raise some questions about this concept of prayer. And after I woke up in 2017 and 2018, and I started thinking about prayer, I had to ask myself, in all the years that I've been alive and been a witness and talking about prayer and hearing prayers and hearing other people talk about what they pray for and different things that they need. And I had to ask myself, did I ever once see an answer to their prayers, something demonstrable? Because you could always have the roll of the dice. I can tell you a real life story. There was a guy who was a gangbanger. He was a Jehovah's Witness kid who was a gangbanger. And he was on a fence. He and two of his friends, there were three guys, they were on a fence. I was driving past to go pick my son up from daycare. On the other side of the street, a rival gang drove past and they sprayed the area with bullets. Oh. It hit the guy on the left, the kid on the left, killed him, shot him in the head, killed him instantly. Hit the guy on the right, and he eventually died of his injuries. And the bullets completely missed the gangbanger kid in the middle, who was the Jehovah's Witness kid. Wow. Now, the point that I'm making is that had nothing to do with God. It wasn't because anybody prayed. It was just complete random. It was just the luck of the draw, the wind blowing. So there's so many things that factor into why a thing happens or doesn't happen. So when I asked myself that question, did I ever once see a prayer that was answered and it was demonstrated that only God could have answered? It wasn't just a randomness of the universe. And I had to admit that I've never seen it. And once I realized that, it was like a load lifted off of me that you can pray all day long, if you want, but whether a thing happens or doesn't happen isn't going to be because of that prayer. And just like the guy said in his video, because there is that study that they conducted where you had the one group that was religious and another group that wasn't, and they both had to have surgeries. And what it showed is that whether you were religious and prayed, or you were completely an atheist or a deist or an agnostic, and you didn't pray, you just said, well, let's just hope for the best with the science that we have at our disposal. Either mentality made no difference. So the bottom line for me is I'm of the opinion that prayers are not answered. Whether there's a God, isn't a God, God hears prayers, he doesn't answer them. There's just no evidence, in my opinion. And when we see the world around us and all of the things that, if you were God, Joe, I know you would change. If I was God, I would change. I mean, kids dying from malnutrition and cancer and can't find clean water. All those things you and I would go and fix in a heartbeat. We don't. If you want to be a drug lord and you get killed, that's your business. But I'm not going to let this little kid die just because they can't get a cup of water.
I'm going to pick up on exactly what the last thing you stated. We would do something about it.
We would do something about it.
Okay.
Right.
And
guess what? Nobody would have to ask us. Nobody would have to pray and be specific in your prayer. We would see, just like if you were walking down the street, Joe, with 5 boxes in your hand, I'm not going to go and wait for you to ask me, oh, can you help me with this? Or, oh, can you open the door? I'm just going to do it. That's just what common sense So I never bought into this concept of prayer. To me, it was just a way to string people along, get their hopes up. And then when whatever it is that they pray for doesn't happen, then they come up with some defense as to why it doesn't happen. That's just my belief.
And I appreciate it. And here's the clue. And I think you're giving the clue. And the clue is that we are the gifts that we've been given. We are the gift. In other words, I've got every gift that I could possibly need. I have it. I've been given it. Okay. So if I look for more, maybe the person giving it to me might look and say, "See, I gave you so much, and now you're asking for more. What are you doing with what you have? You certainly could do something more than what you're doing, can't you? You can do something. Now, or you could look for someone that you can help to do more than what they're doing." And this is where the Bible, to me, and see, we were raised Catholic from an early age. I was born in the church, just about.
Yeah, we were baptized in the church.
I went to Catholic kindergarten, Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, and we learned the prayers from early age. Oh, it's just wonderful. It was just wonderful. Prayed the rosary. You say the same thing over and over and over about 1 million times, and magic things happen. Well, they really don't. Magic things don't happen. You just do it over and over and over and over and over again. And at the same time, you see that, and this is what I didn't know, you see that the people in the religion are doing things they shouldn't be doing. Well, basically, they're liars. Not only liars, they're also criminals. They're immoral criminals. They're men who are not only lying with men, but they were molesting boys. Okay, and this is the church that taught you how to pray. And then in Jehovah's Witness religion, organization, corporation, bookbinding institution, they expose the Bible, and the Bible is literally an interesting book that basically contains lies and some truth. It's got both, in my estimation. It has some things that are very true, and other things that are absolutely false. Okay. So what are you going to do about that? Well, we have been given everything we need to discern what's true from that Bible and what's not true. One of the interesting things that the Bible said, and I always thought it was so interesting, it says, "Let God be found true, though all men be a liar." I think it goes the other way around. Whatever the case, all men are liars. Well, it's either true or false. It's true, as far as I'm concerned. And it's like, well, am I a liar too? Yeah, I'm a liar. Why? Oh, because sometimes I say things that aren't true. Oh, yeah, I guess I do. Okay. Well, if I've got someone who cares about me and who is trying to be truthful, they'll set me straight. They will set me straight. Well, that's good. It's a good relationship. And we've seen that the Watchtower has proven. Oh, I mean, look at the very beginning when Rutherford boldly proclaimed that religion is a snare and a racket. And this is something that Russell knew too, and that all the people, they said, and if you look at the context where it was written, they all knew this. These men all knew this. Said, yeah, religion's a snare and a racket, isn't it? Yeah, it sure is. We're going to come up with a good one because we're going to show them how to do it. And they did. They proceeded to show how much of a snare it is for people and how much of a racket it was and how profitable it was for them. They proved everything that they stated that was a fact. It's a fact. Religion is a snare and a racket. It was designed originally to literally corral people. That's what religion means, is to gather back. Gather back what? Well, sheep, cattle. And where? Why? Well, so you can raise them and then profit off them. That's what you do with cattle. You don't. They're not pets. You're going to profit from them. Okay, that's what religion was. The king came up with religion, and unfortunately, within religion, it is also the way that they helped the king get all the slaves he ever wanted, to do with them whatever he wanted to do. And he had all kinds of slaves, hardworking men slaves, and women slaves, and children slaves, that he did anything he wanted to. And so if the king could do that, so the religion could do that too. Because think about this. Well, the king sets the standard. The king can do this. Well, that's what we can do too. If it's good for him, it's good for us. And so religion justifies this idea that your house is your castle. You do whatever you want in your house. King does this kind of stuff. Well, unfortunately, that's what some fathers do in their house. They do the same thing that the king does, unfortunately. And the religion justifies it.
So, Joe, if I could just break in a little bit. I was thinking as you were talking that I wouldn't say I'm an atheist, maybe agnostic, I'm not sure. I just don't believe in God as religion and the Bible teaches. I certainly recognize there is certainly a higher power, if you will.
Well, look, okay, Barb. No, see, Annie, see, religion is a man-made thing. I didn't say anything about God.
No, I know that. I
said religion.
But I was going to bounce off on that.
Yeah.
There does actually seem to be a part of the brain that is set aside for religion.
Now wait a minute. Wait.
Wait, can I finish? I'll tell you why.
Okay, but okay. You said religion, and
It triggered them. Go ahead, Danny.
Well, religion and prayer we were talking about prayer to start with, and really they do kind of go together. But why I said that biologically, there does seem to be a part of the brain that is designed for religion. There was a sister in our congregation.
I know.
Who had she had
Barb, I can't stand it. I can't stand it, Annie. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't stand it. You said religion. Religion was a man-made institution designed to enslave people. I don't think you meant that our brain.
Should I say worship?
Well, look, maybe you meant spirituality. Maybe you meant.
Right.
Okay, now, so you got that one?
Okay.
No,
I'll change,
because I
I'll
don't
change my
think
terminology.
I don't think you mean I want to be put in a corral and slaughtered. I don't think you meant that.
No, I see where you're coming from. I see where
Okay,
you're coming. I
so-
was going, my thoughts were going a little different direction is all.
No, it's spirituality.
Spirituality. Okay.
Yeah.
There does
Oh.
seem to be a part of the brain that is set aside or activated
Yeah,
in a spiritual manner.
yeah.
There was a sister in a congregation who had epilepsy, very severe. And the doctor said that they could remove the part of her brain that was causing them, but she would lose her sense of, they said religion, I'll say spirituality.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
They removed that.
Wow.
And they did remove it. And she stopped having seizures, but she also was neutral when it came to things spiritual from then on. And she
Wow.
just drifted away from being a.
Yeah, I get that. I kind of get the science of that too. Yeah.
But I do think that I'm not going to knock spirituality or even a religious belief if that's what some people need. I'm not going to knock prayer because I think prayer does help people, because I think if you believe in something, it can have an effect. I think maybe part of it is confirmation bias, because people look for an answer to their prayer, and so they're looking for that. The same as people who believe in the those who predict what's going to happen to them. Now they're looking for confirmation bias that these things will happen. And so it seems though they do.
Yeah.
If I could interrupt,
Yes, go ahead.
I think it depends. We've got 6 people here and we've got a lot in the audience listening.
Okay.
If everybody were to define prayer, I think you would get all different kinds of definitions of prayer. So what one person thinks of as prayers and, a different, totally different. So just to put that out there.
I would define it as communicating with the universe, communicating with your higher self.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier about manifesting. If you want something bad enough and you are specific about it and you work against it, you work with
I've
it.
got a thought experiment here. What if when I was 5 years old, I prayed and I said, God, I'm what I want to do is be a good person and take care of people in their need and always do good. Okay. Well, I'd say I had my work cut out for me at that point. So God's looking down and saying, okay, get to work. Get started, man. Get started. And then I would think I should at least act in harmony with that prayer. And God looks and says, well, heck, I gave you everything you need. So I say you're good to go. So you get going and don't stop. And when you die, you can't do it anymore, I guess. But in the meantime, you've got everything you need. And besides that, along the way, you're going to find more. And you're going to run across other people who are doing the same thing. And you're going to do works greater than you ever thought. So long as I continue to act in harmony with that first prayer. So I was through praying when I was 5. And after that, I just had to wear myself out acting in harmony with it.
Hey, Joe,
Yeah.
can I mention a thought?
Yeah.
Now, this is exactly what I thought once I woke up from this. And I used to think this even before when I was an active witness. But there's an account in the Bible, and I know it's in the Old Testament someplace. And there was this showdown, for lack of a better word, between the prophets of Baal and
Yes.
the prophets of
Yes.
Yahweh. And I don't remember where it is exactly, but I know that we all are familiar.
Yeah.
But even when I was a kid and I read that, but let's just move it to right now. Let's just move it to 2026. If we all went outside and you had Christian denominations You had other religions. Maybe you had Islam, whatever Asian religion, pick one. Maybe you had a cardinal or somebody from the Catholic Church. And we all went out there and we put together our metric. We're all going to pray, but this is how we're going to know which God answered this prayer, whatever that metric turns out to be. And just like in the account, they prayed all day. The prophets of Baal did. You remember, they didn't eat, they didn't drink. They were praying loud and moaning and groaning and all of that. They even started slashing themselves, cutting themselves.
Yeah.
And then their prayer wasn't answered. And then supposedly, whoever this was, I don't know if it was Elijah or Elisha, whoever it was, I can't remember now. And he prays, and then supposedly Yahweh answers the prayer. And I would always think, even when I was an active witness, if we were called on in that exact same challenge, we all know how it would turn out. We'd be out there all day long doing the same exact thing. And at the end of the day, there would be no answer to the prayer. What would we do then? What we would do then is we would start rationalizing why God didn't answer the prayer. But my thought, even when you start as a thinking person, 'cause I was born in from the age of 3. But my thought was, well, whatever excuse we would come up with why our Jehovah didn't answer this prayer, you could use that same rationalization for why the prophet of Baal didn't answer his prayer. So the point that I'm making, that I'm getting at, is there's no way to prove or disprove this stuff.
I know. Yeah, it's so true.
And that's the frustrating part of it. Because if there was a Jehovah and he answered the prayers of Jehovah's Witnesses, everybody would be a Jehovah's Witness. Why would you not be?
Knocking the doors down. Yeah.
You'd be knocking the doors down. So the fact that you have all these religions and all, whether it's Christian denominations, Catholicism, all the other religions, is because nobody can prove or disprove any of this.
See, and I think this is the waking up process of people. Yeah, a child goes through development from a young age to an older age, and then they believe things that really aren't true because they can't understand deeper concepts. They get a little older and they realize, oh, well, it's really this, it's not that. Oh, I see. Now I see. Well, I would ask anyone, how long does that process last? Does that waking up process stop at 15, 18, 21, 25, 40? Or can it last our whole life? And personally, I believe it can last.
I have a thought that I'd like to share with you. It's the Bible tells us, and God tells us that he's going to undo all the harm that has been done to us. Now, God measures time differently. Well, we live by time, and there is no time as far as God is concerned. Time is for us, for our universe. Now, is he supposed, or does he have to answer our prayers now? Or is he going to answer our prayers sometime in the future and undo all the harm? And for example, he's capable, as happened to me, I forgot, that I used to be a smoker ever. He might have the power to take away everything bad that happened to us, take away that memory. And I don't know what else he has in store, things that we cannot even imagine. But I know for sure that this universe, that he created the universe, and he created our planet, and the moon, and for reason, and for us. Everything that he has created, it was for us and for our benefit. And, all the food and all the beauty in this earth is for us. So it makes me come to the conclusion that this God, really loves us. Everything that he did, he gave to us for free. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing better than this God who created this universe and who gave us all of these gifts. And we even, have his qualities, created us in his image to have wisdom, to have justice, to have love, most of all, to be capable of loving and to have that, that need within us to love and to express love and to love people and to help. I mean,
And-
how wonderful is that?
And that's a deep personal experience and value that you've developed, that you've seen. And I have to ask myself, okay, what about all the other people in the world? What experiences have they had? What are they going through? Because that's the one that they're going to have to bear. That's what's going to have to bear them up. That's what's going to have to support them, their experiences. Deanna?
I think a lot of times when people start waking up, there's so much anger and rage over the betrayal of finding out that, discovering you've been in a cult, that it's pretty common to go atheist. I know I went through my atheist phase. It was just like, you can't trust anything. I've been lied to my whole life. So you kind of like toss everything out, kind of like this, Bible burning, go to the opposite extreme kind of thing, And then maybe the pendulum kind of starts swinging back a little bit more towards the balance, where we start to realize, okay, wait a second. Maybe there's grains of truth in there. Maybe there's things in there that we misunderstood.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe there's things like prayer and the concept of God that we got messed up in our head because of man's manipulation. Because today's religion has nothing to do with spirituality or God.
No.
And the deconstruction process needs to become the reconstruction process. So you blow everything up, and then eventually you have to come to this point where you start taking these pieces and you start putting it back together again. And I think this concept of prayer is a great idea, because you talk to people who came out of these hardcore religions and they're really like, man, God sucks. This is evil. Why does, it's just throw it all out with the trash, throw the baby out with the water, I suppose. Without stopping to think that maybe actually there are concepts within religion that have been tainted, contaminated. And so when we don't understand something, maybe it's not necessarily that it just doesn't work at all. It just doesn't work in the context that we were taught that it was supposed to work. And that, adding to your knowledge, maybe there's other secrets in there that would actually make it be in harmony, not with religion, but with science, with modern day science.
Okay. Deanna, thank you. I'm going to invite Gail in. Gail, you've been there, and
Hi.
hi. Thank you.
I just want to give you my personal insight. I believed in God before I went to the organization. I left an organization, an organized religion, but I didn't leave God. And I have a closer relationship now with God. I do believe in the power of prayer. I communicate with God. I talk to him like he was sitting right next to me. I talk to him in my car, on the couch, in the shower. I talk to him all the time. And I will say he has answered several of my prayers. And no one can take that away from me, because I really believe in God. I believe he's the creator. And I guard my spirituality very much so. It's a part of my life. It's first and foremost in my life. Then my family comes next. But I have had God in my life. I've also been, I'm very sensitive to the demons. And because of my relationship with God, I've been protected a lot, because I've been attacked a lot by, people probably don't even want to hear this, but I've been attacked a lot. And I really feel, and anybody can disagree with me, I really don't care. I feel, because of my relationship with God, the demons don't like it when you have faith and you believe in a higher power. Because I believe that Satan and the demons run the show, and I think they're all over the place, and it's getting worse and worse and worse with demonic activity going on. And I feel God protects me as much as he possibly can. And I'm very careful what I let in my house. I'm very careful who I'm around. I'm very, very sensitive, and I can pick up vibes. And that was a gift that was given to me as a child. I'm very psychic, and I can pick up And I believe in energy. You mentioned energy last week. I really believe in negative energy and I believe in positive. But if you're going to throw out negative energy, you're going to get that back. I want to have positive energy. And I found since I left that crappy organization, I'm more loving now and more forgiving and I'm kinder and I have a much better relationship with God. And I don't believe God punishes us. At first, I thought he punished me for leaving that stupid organization. But I've realized after 18 months that he isn't even endorsing this religion. But this is what they've drilled into your head. That God. As a matter of fact, I had a brother who called me up just the other day, and I find this fascinating because of my personality and who I am. I don't know why they all call me. And I said to him, I said, look, his name is Ed. He called me for a favor. I said, Ed, I left in 2023. And I said, and you're calling me for help. So I was kind. I helped him. And then I said, hey, we have a group on Wednesday nights. Would you like to join us? Well, he kind of flipped out on that one. He goes, don't you ever bring that up again. I said, what? I said, we've got people from all over the world. We've got some circuit overseas, you name it, we've got in our group. And I said, it'll be worth your while. I said, you'll see what's really going on in your, but he got mad.
Gail, give him our phone number.
Yeah.
But I'm saying to myself, how dare he's calling me for, this is like the third person that's called me for favors. And I'm like,
I'm very serious. Give him our phone number.
I'm actually, I got this couple that are pioneers. They want to join us.
Good.
They're from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and they go to the prisons, and they said that they'll join us. I said, okay, I'm going to put their money where their mouth is.
Beautiful. Beautiful,
Thank you, Gail. Appreciate your thoughts, expressions. We've got Rob Burns is
Hi,
on
Rob.
stage with us. Hi,
Hello,
Rob.
Rob.
Can I just say thank you to Dina? Thank you, Dina.
You're welcome.
And I love your life. You've got a great life since you left. I really envy your lifestyle. It's cool. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stick with us. Rob? Let's see. There you go. Do you have your mic on? We see you.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
A little muffled, but we can hear you.
Yes.
Give it a try.
Better. Let's see.
Yeah, you're coming through.
We see you.
Yeah, and we hear you too, Rob.
Okay. I'm having a hard time hearing you, but I just was listening to everybody there, and I remember about 6 months ago a picture of a little Jewish girl in a concentration camp. She had a fat lip, and how they got her picture out, I don't know, but she had a fat lip given to her by this Nazi brute. And it said moments later he took a hypodermic needle and injected something into her heart and killed her.
Oh,
Wow.
And my thought is, what with all the things that you see going on in the earth, this is what I saw was a microcosm.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
with every day with people starving, where is the Creator who says, "I love you so much"?
Mm. Yeah. Good question. Good question. Maybe we misunderstand him.
Mm.
I mean, it's conceivable we misunderstand him.
I mean, this has been going on for centuries. I read about the Mongols and that guy out in China that was the big conqueror back in the 12th, 13th century, and what he would do to people. What the Crusaders did, supposedly in the name of God, going down there to battle with the Muslims. And all the way along, these ones with their Christian beliefs, so to speak, would rape and pillage the villages that they went through. And then, when you think about prayer, there's a guy named Joel Osteen, and he's got this big facility in Houston, Texas, I think. And he said it was only through prayer that we were able to accomplish purchasing this facility, that God was with us. His spirit was there. And I think, well, how many other people and religions say that
Yeah.
because they feel like God was behind them, like the sand in the island out there in the Pacific. And yet then you turn around and my son's best friend was killed by a drunk driver. So, you know,
Yeah.
I've heard these questions about God stepping in or choosing to step in, but it just, to me, it perplexes me. I do believe there's a creator, and there has to be a creator for life to be as it is. But the question that I had, of course, is the witnesses always said, well, you know, in God's due time, we haven't had enough time to prove Jehovah's way of doing it is correct. But I say now that how much more time would need to happen before he would take corrective measures, if ever.
Well, what was the challenge that Satan gave to God? Did he not say that he could turn everyone away from him? That the only reason that we serve God is because of what we can get from him? But as soon as he doesn't give us what we want, then we would turn our back on him and curse him. Isn't that what Satan said?
Yeah, he did.
Okay, so every time that someone feels let down and betrayed and so on by Jehovah, and he's turning his back away from him, he's proving Satan correct, isn't he?
Well, I don't think he's turning his back on me personally, but I think we said, like that little girl, that image stuck in my mind.
It's terrible. I know.
What possible reason could there be for that little girl to be suffering like that?
None.
When he
None
has a
whatsoever.
If I were a father doing things like that, how would I explain it to the rest of my family?
Yep, I agree with that question.
How would I explain all these things to my family that they would believe anything good of me?
It's the same. It's the same thing with this PA stuff and the PSA stuff and the witnesses, that there are biological parents who have done it to their kids.
That's
Yeah,
right.
You know,
That's right.
We hear so many accounts of it.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah, Stefan.
I just wanted to expand on something you just said about if you were a good parent, how would you explain that? That's something that hit me many years ago about the Bible and the account of Job, and we all know the account, so I won't bother boring everybody with it. But at the end of everything, when Job's health and his wealth and his respect was given back to him, and he even had more children, and he lived for however much longer. And when he said to God, basically, I don't understand why this happened to me because I'm a righteous person. I haven't done anything wrong to deserve this. And God starts yelling at him about, well, where were you when I created the universe and all the rest of this? But you know what I found fascinating about that, which ties directly into what you said about a good parent? Nowhere in that account does God ever say to Job, even though I didn't directly cause these things, I allowed all of this to happen to you by Satan the devil. If you go and you read the account in Job, you will find nowhere does Job learn that God, this God that he loved, worship, allowed all of the suffering that he went through to happen to him.
Yeah.
So, like, if there was a resurrection, the way Watchtower describes it, and we walked up to Job and we said, "Man, Job, that's really messed up. What God allowed to have happen to you," he wouldn't know what you're talking about. He's like, "What do you mean allowed to happen to me?" Yeah, all the bad stuff. Your kid's dying, and you've been struck with the terrible illness, and blah blah blah. Yeah, God allowed that. Here, let me show you. We got a book in the Bible with your name on it. Let me show you. See right here. Yeah, God allowed Satan to do that to you. How do you think Job would feel knowing that? Now, the reason why I bring this up is because that's how I feel. When I told you in my first comment that when people pray and those prayers don't come to fruition, they start rationalizing. And what I'm hearing throughout people's comments is the rationalization for why God allows all this. Oh, he has a plan. Oh, he's going to do this. No, he's going to do that. Yeah. None of that makes anybody feel better. None of that makes life bearable. No. The gentleman who spoke just before me, he talked about the Jews in Hitler's time. And what if you were one of those Jews? You don't think that those Jews prayed to God? Did God answer any of those prayers? No, those people died in the most inhumane way you can think of.
What have you got that's better?
I don't have to have anything better. I'm not saying, hold on. I'm not saying that I'm God. I'm not saying that I created the world, the planet. I'm not the one who's saying that I will answer prayers and I have a plan. I'm not saying that. I don't have to have an answer. I don't have to take the problems that are created, not by me, and say that I've got a solution. But I'm simply pointing out that these are rationalizations about very real things that we all know that people have prayed for. I mean, I'm African American. You don't think that my ancestors prayed when they were being raped and beaten and everything done to them? Yes. Did God answer any of those prayers? No.
Can I get a word in edgewise? Okay.
Well, I was talking.
Okay. Well, stop
So
complaining.
I'm done talking. So yes, you can have the word. I just wanted to explain my point.
Okay. Stop
Thank you.
complaining. If you don't have a solution, please stop complaining.
I'm not complaining.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not complaining whatsoever.
Oh, it's
I'm explaining why I don't bother praying to God, because God doesn't answer prayer. So I move on. I'm not complaining at all.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt now. Thank you, Stefan and Slavika. Thank you. You know, you just caused me to think that every one of us here and everyone down the street and across the neighbors with the way and in the Kingdom Hall and in other religions everywhere in the world has some concept that supports them of creator, God, source. I don't care what they call it. There's something special. And maybe what it really is showing that it's the God within us that needs to come forth and show others what value that is. Because otherwise, if none of us does anything good, no one's going to think anything good of God. It's like, you know, God didn't do anything good. But as soon as someone does nice for someone else, you know, it makes God look good. We're glad of his creation. And, you know, we're glad we were created so we could do something that made us feel good, made them feel good. I really think personally that we got the capacity. Annie said that about it's inbred or it's in our brains to be, and I'll say spiritual. And I truly believe that. And I think what it really is indicating to us that we have within us something very special. And if we think it's that special, then I guess we can show it. And
fantastic. I agree with you 100%, Joe. Joe, what you're giving us is an example that we should take accountability. We should take responsibility.
Yeah, I agree.
If the world is not what we wanted, we should make it better.
That's
right,
Slavika. That's it.
Hey, can we just
Thank
say
you,
hi? Dallas has been waiting. Hi, Dallas.
Hi, Dallas. Hi, Matthew.
Hey, y'all. Hi, Matt.
Dallas. Okay.
Matt, welcome Matt on.
Welcome, Dallas.
Well, I've been thinking about, I have to, and hi to Deanna and to Rob and Gigi and everybody. I've been thinking I still have faith in God and still and Christ, Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit as, but I believe that he is, that the Son is God the Son and God the Spirit. That's my thoughts of whatever anybody thinks about that.
Thank you, Dallas. Thank you.
And I feel that I've been blessed in many ways, and there are times when the Lord has protected, has cut me safe from so many things.
Yeah. And obviously that's, every one of us has that signal in us. You know, we received some signal that indicates that in us. I don't think dogs have that. I don't think cats have that. but I think humans do. And that's what makes us special. And we show it toward each other.
Want to say hi to me?
No, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Just real quick. I would just like to say that I certainly agree with that we can have a godlike spirit in us. I think we all have that ability, and we can display godlike qualities. I think what we do is a lot more important than what we say.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah, I agree.
Oh, I mean, the Watchtower has proven that it doesn't mean a thing that they talk about God. Here they, because they disprove it with everything they do. Matthew, hello.
Hi, Matthew.
Hi. Good to be with you all.
Glad you're here,
to be with
Matthew.
us.
Just trying to catch up a little bit, but when you talk about God, or you talk about divinity, or universal consciousness, however you want to put it, if you want to say higher self, I see it in all of us. I see it in these frequent discussions. I feel it. And so personally, if you're talking about what each one of us brings in terms of development, I use this word eclectic. And you could say I steer more towards theosophy, but I'm not conclusive. I'm not conclusive about it, because I think your theme tonight was prayer, isn't it? I didn't catch most of it.
Yes.
But I look at that scripture in the Bible, let us make man in our image. And I look at us as aspects of that personality. I think somebody said the spirit in each of us. When you strip away the ego, what do you have? You have consciousness. And so I lose my fear because of that, because I say, oh, well, I can see godly things, or I can see the divine in both the sacred and the profane, our darker aspects and our lighter aspects. And I can embrace that, and I can say, well, I can feel that love towards us. It's not an airy, fairy love. I know that you've got animals that are eating each other. I see that here in Africa. I see lions tearing zebras to pieces. And I can actually reconcile that in a strange way. That's all I want to say. But thank you for just letting me share company with you, because that means a tremendous amount.
We appreciate that, Matthew. And before we say hello to Apostle Babe, I was just thinking, prayer, energy, positive, putting positive things out there, receiving positive back. We've had so many different expressions, and we appreciate everyone's being respectful of each other's thoughts and feelings. And did you want to say anything before we? Okay, Linda, Apostle Babe.
Hello.
Hi, Linda.
Hi.
It's good to be here. So I'm just going to let you guys know how some of the things that have been said is sitting with me or affecting me, and I'm not to bitch, but I'm upset with some of the things that are said. I'm not trying to have a fight, but I just want to give you some feedback on some of the things that I've heard and why I'm frustrated. So hearing someone talk about a prayer not being said or done the right, correct way irritates me to no end. Like, especially after I heard Annie speak of her son at some time having to go through abuse. Like a child should not be, like, as if the child didn't get rescued from a situation they should not have had to go through because they maybe didn't say their prayer in the right way. If they were praying, that might not even be what was meant to be said, but that's how I've received it. So I do, that's what I'm complaining about. And yes, I'm going to complain. You need to let me, okay? Don't. So, and then the next one is, I've heard this many, many times, where it would be said by someone like that maybe they left a religion or left God, and they throw God out with the bathwater. If they've left the organization, and I think that's maybe the case with some people. But I also know that that wasn't the case with me, and I know that that's not the case with many other people. Like they've actually done some hardcore theology studying, and even on their way to become pastors. Like there might even be people that are unbelievers today because they did study the Bible and they did figure, really get into that God of the Bible, especially the Old Testament dude that had a conversation with Satan and was like, "Look at my Job, he's pretty cool, huh? Oh, sure, you can go f with him, have a good time, but just don't kill him, like that's the God." And so I'm irritated. I don't think that's the intention that we're wanting to get put out, but I'm just saying maybe some people are non-believers because they have really read the Bible, and I hate the idea of a prayer maybe not being answered because it wasn't done correctly. Because to me, that sounds like victim blaming, even though I don't think that's the intent that was said here. That's how I'm receiving it, and I'm irritated with it. So there's my feedback. Like
Thank
for
you.
S and real.
Thank you for your
Okay.
honesty. Thank you for your
Yeah,
honesty.
I'm not.
Anyone want to reply to Linda?
The only reply I would have to that is this is about a 6-hour conversation
Yes.
that
Yes.
I crammed into the 5-second spiel that I started at the beginning. I totally get exactly what you're saying. This is a topic that I have been teaching for 20 some years, both in and out of the religion. And I apologize if it came off as victim blaming. I think what has happened is we've been told that this is some sort of direct conduit to have your answers answered, no matter what the circumstances are. And I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way. That's why a lot of times when somebody is in a bad situation, they pray for help and they don't get answered. It's because in my studies of science, it wasn't made to fix problems. This is a tool and a technique for completely different scenarios, not the scenario that these poor innocent victims are using it for. They're praying, hoping that somebody's going to pull them out of the abuse, and he didn't.
Yeah,
So why didn't
yeah,
he?
exactly.
It's either
You
his
would,
fault
you
because he's
you
an
would go in there
ass,
and interrupt that
or
stuff.
we're
I
not
would.
necessary, or we're using the wrong tool for the wrong situation.
Yeah, but I do hear what you're saying, and you're actually going beyond what is
If
biblically
may,
prayer. The idea
Exactly.
that
if I can
as if
jump in
In a
here.
lot of ways, the religious version of prayer is very much disempowering.
Mm-hmm.
Just leave it in God's hands, and if he
mm-hmm,
answers it or if he doesn't answer it, there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to leave it in God's hands. This
I
isn't a
well, this
tool
is
that you just leave in God's hands. This is like an active creation process,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't meant
Mm-hmm.
to rescue people
what what
out of
what
these bad circumstances, you know?
what if the notion of God being good is just a human notion? What if it's just a human
it
notion?
appears that way lately with
Why
me.
does God have to be good? I mean, it's our idea of something. Maybe we're the ones that have to be good and not hold that to God. And maybe that's
When
the point. Maybe the point is we have that power to do that.
when
Hey,
I
Joe,
Yeah,
went
can
and
I
through
you know
answer?
what? Thank you for opening up a different mindset of what prayer could be. Thank
Yeah,
you for that.
yeah, yeah.
Because I wasn't
Yeah, that involves
past the whole biblical you know, like as if I can pick up the phone and talk to God kind of thing. You're talking a different realm of where prayer could exist. So thank you for
I'm
that.
talking, yeah, I'm talking quantum physics. I'm talking
Oh,
there is
okay.
a very specific, logical, scientific method. And when
Mm-hmm.
we just, pray to God to take away this or pray to God to make me feel better, that's what religion taught us to do.
Well, I
Okay.
am,
And
but
why most of the time it doesn't work.
I am quantum physics.
Hmm.
I am quantum physics, and so are you,
Yes.
and so is
Yes.
everyone here.
Yes.
We are quantum
And
physics.
I'll just say I'm not familiar with the quantum physics approach
Yes,
to
you are.
prayer. This is a
Yes,
new
you are.
Yeah.
concept.
You are. You
I
are.
am.
Yeah, you are.
I don't
You
just
are
think
it.
no. Okay.
You are it. And it's for every one of us is really is discovering it in our own good way.
Hmm.
And it's a personal and it's special. And we resonate with each other because of that. Stefan, you were going to say
Thank you.
something. You're welcome.
When I left the
Yeah,
religion,
I was just gonna say, I was just thinking about what you said about God being all good. I have to be honest and say, I don't spend much time nowadays thinking about God.
Yeah.
And the reason is because the one thing that I know is that we're here. What I don't know is how we got here and all the rest of that and all the different, theories and scientific approaches to it. And at the end of the day, it probably doesn't much matter. The bottom line is we're here. Now, if I ask myself, do I personally feel like God manifests himself? I have to say no, just based upon the facts, the things that we talked about here, the slave trade, the what was done to the Jews, all the people that have lived throughout the century. Majority of those people have lived in some horrendous conditions, even going all the way back to as ancient as far as you can think, even all the way back to Egypt. People were slaves. They were brutally treated all the way up to the present. You can just open up the newspaper and pick any headline that you want to see. But what I don't see is anything where God is doing anything about these problems. So because of that, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about that. Now, do I feel like we can be good, whether that's emulating God? I'm trying to remember the exact words that you use. I think the answer to that is yes. I think part of what probably drew us to the organization is that we thought that we were going out and doing something good to benefit
Yeah.
humanity. The
Yeah.
reality is we were just benefiting and putting money in Watchtower coffers.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
we can
Yeah.
still do things even
Yeah.
now. And I think we probably all get a little bit more satisfaction now when we actually do something concrete that helps people. So the answer to that is yes. But I don't see God interfering in anything that's going on. And that's why I just don't spend that much time thinking about God.
But
It looks to me like
this
we're,
conversation is not about God. This conversation that we
excuse
have,
me, is there a reason why you don't let me finish? I just wanted to finish one
because you keep
sentence.
on going and
I
harping
just
about
wanted us to finish one
the
sentence.
subject
The
is
one
about prayer.
sentence,
The
the one
subject is about
sentence,
prayer, not about
the
if you
one
believe in God
sentence
or
that I
not.
wanted to
No,
finish.
brother.
That's why you don't
Lavika,
have to.
let him finish his sentence, Lavika.
The one,
Exactly.
the only sentence, the only thing I wanted to say is, if we feel, I feel personally feel we are on our own to deal with whatever we've got to deal with in life. So that's what I busy myself doing. That's all I was going to say.
That's
Thank you.
beautiful.
Fantastic,
See, I'm going
fantastic.
to have to say
And
this.
I'm going to say to you that this conversation that we're having is about prayer. It's not about if we believe in God or not. If you want to talk about that, that's a different subject. But you
Oh,
keep
now
on
wait
thinking
a minute, Slovika. Wait a minute. We don't.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
No one prays.
you wouldn't pray if you didn't believe in God, because who would you be praying to?
No one prays to me. They don't pray to Fran. They don't pray to you. They don't pray to Deanna. They pray to God.
So it
So
does. It
God
does
is
come
the
into it.
subject of this. It has to. It has to, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay if it's a little controversial and if it's different for everybody. That's the way it is. It's just the way it is.
If I could just read one of the comments, because I think this is important. Esther said, I agree with Deanna. Leave it in God's hands is
Oh, it's
disempowering
terrible.
to humans.
It's terrible.
The parents of a CSA victim need to call the police instead of what JW elders prescribe.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And bring them to the hospital and have them get examined at the hospital and then call the police at the hospital.
At the hospital.
Exactly.
Joe.
Yes.
I'm still trying to catch up, but thanks for bearing with me.
We're moving.
I was at a real lousy state, and somebody unfortunately I can't focus at the moment. I actually can't see you very well, but there was somebody who was talking about quantum physics just now. Who was that?
Yep. Deanna.
Anyway, I had an opportunity to meet Russell Targ, who's a laser physicist. I don't know if he means anything to anybody, but I couldn't get an opportunity to talk to him. I tried. I was getting ignored. Anyway, he stopped the conversation because I was being dismissed, and he told the doctor, "No, just wait. I want to answer this person." Because I said, and it was just a real simple question. It wasn't anything profound. It was no formula or anything like this. I just said, if we can see with all of this amazing abilities that we as humans have, because he was part of SRI and Stargate, I said, if we can see the future, can we do anything about it? I mean, what can we actually do? Now, that might sound like a really stupid question, but he stopped and he said, we can see certain immovable things coming towards us. He says, like the car, where the tire's going to come off. The tire's going to come off. We all see it. He says, everybody in all our think tanks can all see it. And I said, yeah, so what can we do about it? He says, what they discovered is we have the power to mitigate that event. And he says, you can think that the tire coming off the car is the most terrible disaster. It's terrible. He says, but if you mitigate it and it's coming, he says, why don't you take the car to the garage and take the tire off? He says, the future has now been fulfilled. We all saw the tire coming off, but the way that we saw it coming, it could have been a disaster or it could have been mitigated, but the tire came off. And I looked at that and I still think about it, because it shows us that we have a tremendous power instead of powerlessness to do things. And I think somebody was talking about specifically the abuse. We do have the power. We don't just have to leave it in some higher power's hands. We can mitigate the future. And I don't know what that brings to the table.
I think it starts with us as individuals. I really do, Matthew. I mean, I take it personal, in that personally we warn everybody who would ever think to bring their families into a congregation, knowing that predators go to congregations because that's where the children are. That's what we do. We open our mouths and share that with them. And that's one of those elephants in the room that they never want to accept. They never want to admit, but that's the reality. Predators go to congregations because families bring their children to congregations. And that's all there is to it. If they continue to go to congregations, the families, then predators will continue to go to congregations. Of witnesses, of any other churches, of anything. That's not a solution, but it is something that someone can prevent.
So there's a couple of questions I'd like to respond
your
to.
email in the private chat.
Mine?
Linda?
No, I was looking with Matt.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
When I started reconstructing after deconstructing the religion, I really felt like I had to go all the way back to basics. is there a God or not? I started studying humanities. I started studying history. My idea was if I could figure out what everybody had in common, that would be a good place to start. What do humans all have in common? So the number one thing that everybody has in common is there is some sort of origin. There is a God, there is a creator. It's known by different names depending on the culture that you happen to be in. But for the most part, everybody agrees throughout all the history of humanity that there is some sort of source, God, creator, origin. The second thing nearly everybody has in common is that we are children of this source, that humans are unique, that we have special abilities, that we have talents, that we have the ability to connect with the creator, unlike the animal species. So that's pretty much the second thing that everybody across the board has in common. From there, everybody kind of starts going in their different directions. Religions come into play, and everybody kind of starts going in different directions. But with those two things in common, my next question became, okay, if there is a God, if there is a source, and if we are children of the source, does that automatically necessarily mean that this creator source requires obedience and worship? And I would think about that scripture in Hebrews 10:24 and 25 that says that all houses were created by someone, and he that created all things was God, therefore worship him. But maybe not necessarily. If there is a creator, does it require worship? Well, maybe not necessarily. If it did, it could have made such rules extremely, extremely clear. And as we see, there is a bajillion different religions, different ideas, not even all Christian religions. Christian religions only make up about 30% of the population. What if the source what if the source is long since gone? What if the source doesn't require anything? What if the source isn't there demanding obedience and demanding or participating and deciding and making the call if they're answering this or not? What if the source has long since gone on to other projects? Nonetheless, we have been left with this planet. We have been left with an infrastructure, is what I called it before. We've been left with gravity. We've been left with all of these principles of science. We've been left with this
Okay, I'm not
perfectly
sure.
organized world.
Deanna, I'm going to ask you to tighten it up if you can, please.
Okay, well, somebody asked, why bother praying? Who are we praying to?
Well, I understand.
And so
If you can
in
just
a
tighten it up.
nutshell, maybe what it is we're using the tools that have been left here for us to create.
We have some sound coming in the back. I think somebody's typing. If you can mute yourself.
Oh, that's me. I'm sorry. That's me.
That's okay. It's just picking up. That's okay. No problem.
I'm heavy-handed. Sorry.
That's okay. No problem.
And I think every one of us is really on that journey. I think and this is where religion knew that they could subvert people on that journey, because let's say a king recognized that there is a lot of high achieving individuals out there in his realm, and doesn't like how powerful they could be because these people are high achievers. We've got to do something to rein these people in, because they're trouble for me and my kingdom. So let's come up with a religion. We'll call it a religion, and we'll tell them God loves them, but you got to obey him, and make sure you write in the rules that I like, and tell them what it means to worship God, and tell them what he'll do to you if you don't, because then it'll keep peace in my kingdom. And so the religions dutifully go and do that. And in the meantime, people are frustrated spiritually because they're not able to reach their spiritual potential of doing good, because they're locked into this framework that man put forth. And we're just finding it. We're realizing that now. See, never before in history, I don't think, were people able to talk about their religious experience together around the world. We're doing that now.
It's beautiful.
We're doing that now. Now we can look at each other and say, hey, did you know what they're doing? Yeah, we're doing this here. You're doing that there too. And then, why are they doing this? We don't like what they're doing. You know what? We're going to stop doing it. We're not going to do it anymore. And the king knows that. The king knows that the subjects are very unhappy, very unhappy. And we're growing. We're waking up. We're growing up. We're growing up. And I think we're going to grow up forever, personally, however that long that is.
Yep. So it's 9:06, and we usually stop around now. But just wondering if anybody wants to have a turn and just kind of summarize how they feel.
Summarize.
Who wants to go
Joe and
first?
Fran. Sorry,
Go
who
ahead,
was
Nate.
that? Sorry.
Matt, go
Matt.
ahead.
Joe and Fran, I hear healing, and I sense that healing. I sense that with everyone here. There might be, like as Anne Marie says, the occasional sunburn, but I actually feel that there is the dignity that was denied us in these communities. I feel it, Joe. I don't, and Fran, I don't know how you sense it, but I think every time we're meeting, we're getting to a much better place.
I wouldn't remain if we weren't. I would not remain here. I would not. I would not.
Yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
saying that, Matthew. We feel the same.
I would just like to say that despite the fact I might not agree with someone, I certainly respect everyone's right to believe and feel however they do. And I'm happy for those who get results from the things that they seek. And I think that's great.
Yeah.
There will always be unanswered questions, however.
That's right.
Goodness. We grow by them. We grow by them. We grow by differing opinions.
That's
you know, I get to learn something that I didn't even know or hear before. And it's going to work on me.
Yeah.
You know,
Thank you, Annie. Appreciate that.
Everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Who else would like to speak up?
And what I will say too is I recognize this is about prayer, and it was mentioned that that it's not about God, but yet, you know, it's got to be.
You can't separate
you because otherwise, what are you praying to? And I think the subject about God is absolutely needed to be discussed. Absolutely.
And we had 10 people. There's a maximum of 10 spots that you can have on here. And I think everyone was respectful of everyone else's. And it's hard because we can't see each other. We're not like in one room where you can see, oh, this person wants to talk. So we really appreciate you all trying and, you know, being respectful. Thank you.
And God.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
I just, Matthew, can you please leave your email for me in the private chat? Thank you.
Oh, I did it in the public chat. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, that's all I wanted to ask. Thank you, everybody, for being patient with me, too.
Can I make a last comment?
Sure, Gail.
What I believe in doesn't necessarily mean somebody else believes in it, but I respect everybody's beliefs.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing. I mean, the people that don't respect you don't love you. I don't know how to say it any other way. You don't want to be around somebody that doesn't respect you.
No, I don't want negative energy around me. I got enough of it.
No, let me tell you.
we do not.
Lack of respect is one of the worst things in the world. They don't have to like me, but they could respect me.
That's right.
I have a girlfriend who does hypnosis. She's does hypnotizing. She wanted to come on sometime because she believes in negative and positive energy.
Oh, invite her on.
She's really unbelievable with the negative energy. She's always counseling me about energy. But she can get away with it.
I think it's great you provide this forum.
I I appreciate people coming on and
Yes,
sharing.
thank you. And we have some new people. We appreciate Rob coming on
Yeah.
and
Oh.
Stefan and Slavika and anyone that wants to come on, invite your friends and go to ExJWFriends. And we do want to say that Vern is healing very well.
Yes.
He had his procedure
Last
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Last
Yep, last
Tuesday. Thank you.
Tuesday. Yeah, and we've been home since last Thursday we got home, and all the snow was gone because we had so much rain here, and the weather's been beautiful, and he's healing so great now. He's at the point where I can't keep him still. Yeah, so we're things are really, really good. The dog can't wait to go for walks again.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So we're hoping. So, are we getting ready to wrap? Is that what I was hearing there?
Yeah.
So yes, yeah.
I have are you doing a show next week?
We are.
Yes. Thank you, Gail. Nice segue. Joe and Fran and Friends. So we are going to do a 3-hour show because we heard what you guys were saying not long enough. So Joe and Fran's gift is time. 3 hours next Wednesday. Yeah. Oh, maybe Joe's just hearing about this now, but I swear I did talk to Fran about it.
No, he knows. I told him.
It's brutal. I think we'll survive.
Yeah. So we will be here Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
And New Year's
Eve. Glasses on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
I'm going to be away in Vermont, so I won't be on.
Okay. We'll miss you, Gail.
Oh, thank you. Now, my kids would flip out if I came on the show.
For everybody else who is around, we would love to have you guys stop by and help us fill 3 hours as you guys wanted. So thank you all. Yeah, thank you all for joining this week's show. Thank you, Joe and Fran, for your time again. Thank you to all the moderators in the chat. Really helps out. Please join us on Discord, you guys. Check out the website. There's always lots going on there. And have yourselves a great week until next week.
And remember, keep living your lives with love.
Yay.
Thank you all.
Matthew.
Good night. Love you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Merry
Good night,
Christmas, y'all.
You too, Dallas.
You too, Dallas.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Stefan.
Night, Stefan.
Night, Dallas.
I